When Grease hit theaters in the summer of 1978, it did more than turn a modest stage musical into a global phenomenon. It made household names out of a cast of actors, singers, and comedians who would go on to live wildly different lives once the leather jackets came off and the studio lights dimmed. Some found decades more stardom. Others faded quietly into character work and teaching. A few didn't live to see the film's 40th anniversary, let alone its 47th. Here is where the students, teachers, and greasers of Rydell High really ended up. Olivia Newton-John played Sandy Olsson, the wholesome exchange student who transforms into a leather-clad rebel by the film's final number. Newton-John was already an established pop and country singer in Australia, and the UK before Grease made her a global star at 29, playing a character nearly a decade younger. The film's soundtrack, especially her duets with John Travolta on You're the One That I Want and Summer Nights, became one of the best-selling albums of all time. Newton-John's life after Grease was defined by two things: a prolific music career that included the massive hit Physical, and a long, public battle with breast cancer that began with her first diagnosis in 1992. She became an outspoken advocate for cancer research, founding the Olivia Newton-John Cancer Wellness and Research Center in Melbourne. Her personal life included a marriage to actor and dancer Matt Lattanzi, with whom she had her only child, Chloe Lattanzi, and a later marriage to businessman John Easterling. In 2005, her partner at the time, cameraman Patrick McDermott, disappeared during a fishing trip off the coast of California and was never found, a mystery that drew tabloid attention for years. Newton-John's cancer eventually metastasized to her spine, and she spent her final years continuing to perform and advocate for wellness research even as her health declined. She died on August 8, 2022, at her ranch in the Santa Ynez Valley, California, at age 73. Tributes poured in from around the world, and Travolta wrote that she would be reunited in the heavens with her fellow cast members who had already passed. John Travolta played Danny Zuko, the greaser with a soft side, in a role that cemented him as one of the biggest stars of the era following his breakout in Saturday Night Fever the year before. Travolta's personal life carried real heartbreak. Before Grease, he had a relationship with actress Diana Hyland, who died of breast cancer in 1977. He later married actress Kelly Preston in 1991, and the couple had 3 children. Their son Jet, who had autism and a seizure disorder, died in 2009 at age 16 following a seizure while the family was vacationing in the Bahamas, a loss Travolta has spoken about publicly as the hardest thing he has ever endured. Kelly Preston herself died of breast cancer in 2020 after a 2-year private battle, leaving Travolta a widower raising their 2 surviving children, Ella and Benjamin. Despite these losses, Travolta's career has remained remarkably durable, from his 1994 comeback in Pulp Fiction to his Emmy-nominated turn as attorney Robert Shapiro in The People v. O.J. Simpson. He has continued acting steadily into his 70s, reunited with the surviving Grease cast for anniversary tributes, and has spoken warmly and often about his friendship with Newton-John since her death. Jeff Conaway played Kenneki, Danny's loyal right-hand man and owner of the ill-fated Grease Lightning. Conaway had already originated the role of Danny in the original Broadway production of Grease before moving to film, where he played Kenneki instead. After the movie, he found major television success as mechanic Bobby Wheeler on Taxi and later on Babylon 5. Conaway's career was increasingly overshadowed by very public struggles with alcohol and prescription drug dependency, struggles he discussed openly, including appearances on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew. His marriages, including one to Rona Newton-John, Olivia's sister, ended in divorce. In 2011, Conaway was hospitalized in a medically induced coma after being found unresponsive at his California home. He never regained consciousness and died on May 27, 2011, at age 60. An autopsy attributed his death to pneumonia and sepsis, with his long history of substance abuse cited as a contributing factor. He remains one of the most talked-about cautionary tales to come out of the Grease cast. Stockard Channing played Betty Rizzo, the sharp-tongued, emotionally guarded leader of the Pink Ladies, delivering one of the film's most affecting numbers, There Are Worse Things I Could Do. Unlike some castmates, Channing was already an accomplished stage and film actress when Grease was made, and the role became just one highlight in a career that has spanned 5 decades. She earned an Academy Award nomination for 6 Degrees of Separation, won a Tony Award, and became widely known to television audiences as First Lady Abby Bartlett on The West Wing, a role that brought her multiple Emmy nominations. Channing has been married 4 times and has no children. She remains active in film, television, and theater, having appeared in projects including The Good Wife and West End productions well into her 70s. She turned 80 in 2024 and, as of 2026, continues to work steadily, still commanding respect as one of the most decorated actresses to come out of the film. Eve Arden played Principal McGee, the dry-witted school administrator, in what was one of the final roles of a career that stretched back to the 1930s. Arden had already earned an Academy Award nomination decades earlier for Mildred Pierce and was a beloved radio, film, and television star, best known for the sitcom Our Miss Brooks. Her personal life included a happy second marriage to actor Brooks West, who died of a cerebral hemorrhage in 1983, a loss that hit her hard in her later years. Arden continued occasional acting work into her 80s despite declining health. She died on November 12, 1990, at age 82, following complications from cancer, and was laid to rest at Westwood Village Memorial Park in Los Angeles, closing out one of the more distinguished careers connected to the film. Didi Conn played Frenchie, the sweet, pink-haired beauty school dropout, and remains one of the most active surviving cast members nearly 50 years later. Conn was one of the few cast members to also appear in Grease 2, and later returned for the 2016 live television special Grease Live. Off-screen, she found lasting stability in her marriage to composer David Shire, whom she wed in 1984. She has spoken publicly and warmly about their family life, including raising their son, who has autism, and has used her platform to support autism awareness causes over the years. Conn went on to headline the beloved children's series Shining Time Station alongside Ringo Starr, and has continued working steadily in television, including a recent recurring role on the Fox series Best Medicine and a guest appearance on the CBS series Elsbeth. Now in her mid-70s, Conn maintains close ties to her former castmates and has spoken fondly and repeatedly about her friendship with Olivia Newton-John. Joan Blondell played Vi, the world-weary waitress at the Frosty Palace, in a brief but memorable role near the very end of her long career. Blondell had been a major star of the 1930s and 40s, appearing in dozens of films, and by the time of Grease, she was 71 years old and had already lived through a turbulent personal life, including 3 marriages, one to actor Dick Powell, that ended in divorce. Her third husband, producer Mike Todd, died in a plane crash after their marriage had already ended. In her final years, Blondell continued working even as she battled leukemia privately, completing her role in Grease and the film The Champ shortly before her death. She died on December 25, 1979, just over a year after Grease's release, at age 73, and was laid to rest at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale. Barry Pearl played Duty, the eager, good-natured member of the T-Birds, best remembered for his lead vocal on Those Magic Changes. Unlike several of his co-stars, Pearl never became a major above-the-title star, but he built a long, steady career in television guest roles, theater, and directing, including a cameo appearance as Mr. Weaver in the 2016 Grease Live special. He has spent much of his later career directing stage productions of Grease itself and working as an acting teacher. Now in his mid-70s, Pearl continues to work in theater and occasionally appears at fan conventions alongside his former castmates, living a comfortable, low-key life well outside the Hollywood spotlight. Annette Charles played Cha-Cha de Gregorio, the fiery rival dancer who cuts in on Sandy during the school dance. Charles worked steadily in television throughout the late 1970s and 1980s, appearing in shows including The Incredible Hulk, The Flying Nun, and Magnum P.I., before largely stepping back from acting. She died on August 3, 2011, at age 63, following a battle with cancer, just weeks before her former co-star Jeff Conaway also passed away that same year. Michael Tucci played Sonny Lattieri, the wisecracking T-Bird always looking to stir up trouble. After Grease, Tucci built a durable career as a working character actor, appearing in television and film for decades, including roles in the crime drama Blow and the action film The Heat. He took extended breaks from acting at points in his career, but has continued to work into his late 70s with a role in the 2024 mystery thriller Pink City among his more recent credits. Tucci remains an active, if low-profile, presence in the industry nearly 50 years after Grease made him a recognizable face. Sid Caesar played Coach Calhoun, the gym teacher whose chaotic energy makes for one of the film's funniest supporting turns. By the time of Grease, Caesar was already a comedy legend from the golden age of television, celebrated for your show of shows in the 1950s. What audiences didn't know at the time was that Caesar had spent roughly 2 decades battling severe alcohol and prescription sedative addiction that nearly destroyed his career and family, and that his role in Grease came during the years he was finally working to get sober. He continued acting into his later years, including a return appearance in Grease 2, and remained beloved as one of the pioneers of American television comedy. Caesar died on February 12, 2014, at his home in Los Angeles, at age 91. Jamie Donnelly played Jan, the cheerful, food-loving member of the Pink Ladies best remembered for her mooning duet and the Freddie My Love number. After Grease, Donnelly continued working steadily in theater and took on behind-the-scenes and voiceover roles rather than chasing further film stardom. She has remained a familiar face at fan conventions and Grease-related stage productions over the decades, reuniting with castmates including Barry Pearl, Eddie Deezen, and Kelly Ward for touring productions of the musical well into the 2010s. Now approaching 80, Donnelly continues to make public appearances tied to the film's legacy. Eddie Deezen played Eugene Felnick, the bullied, bespectacled brainiac who becomes an unlikely source of comic relief. Deezen struggled to find sustained on-camera roles after his run of late 1970s and early 1980s films, including Grease, I Wanna Hold Your Hand, and War Games, but found a second career as one of the most prolific voice actors in animation, lending his distinctive nasal delivery to characters in Dexter's Laboratory, Kim Possible, The Polar Express, SpongeBob SquarePants, and Star vs. the Forces of Evil, among dozens of other credits. He has faced some public difficulties in recent years, including a handful of reported legal incidents that drew tabloid attention, though details around those episodes remain murky and largely unconfirmed beyond brief news items. Deezen, now based in Spartanburg, South Carolina, has remained a steady presence on the fan convention circuit into 2026, appearing at horror and comic conventions across the Southeast and continuing to take small voice and on-camera roles, including a 2026 episode of Critters, All You Can Eat. Dinah Manoff played Marty Maraschino, the glamorous, boy-crazy youngest member of the Pink Ladies. Manoff, the daughter of actress Lee Grant, had already built a strong stage career before Grease and went on to win a Tony Award for her performance in I Ought to Be in Pictures. She continued working in film and television through the 1980s and 90s, including a recurring role on the sitcom Empty Nest, and later stepped back from a heavy acting schedule to focus on family and occasional teaching. She has largely maintained a private life outside the entertainment press in recent decades. Kelly Ward played Pootsie, the youngest and most easily flustered of the T-Birds. Like several castmates, Ward found his most lasting career not in front of the camera, but behind it, becoming a respected voice director for Disney television animation, shepherding hundreds of episodes of shows including Mickey Mouse Clubhouse and Jake and the Neverland Pirates. He has remained married to his wife since 1978 and has taught musical theater at the University of Southern California, frequently reuniting with fellow cast members Barry Pearl and Eddie Deezen for stage revivals of Grease. Now in his late 60s, Ward lives a quiet, stable life largely out of the spotlight. Ed Burns played Vince Fontaine, the slick television host running the school dance contest, a role that marked something of a comeback for the actor. Burns had been a major teen idol a generation earlier thanks to his role as Kooky on the television series 77 Sunset Strip, and had even released a hit novelty song, Kooky, Kooky, Lend Me Your Comb. After Grease, Burns continued working in smaller film and television roles, though he never fully recaptured his earlier level of stardom, and by his later years, he lived quietly and largely out of the public eye. He died on January 8, 2020, at his home in Santa Monica, California, at age 87 from natural causes. Nearly 5 decades after Rydell High first lit up movie screens, the cast of Grease tells a story far more layered than the film's sunny surface ever let on. Some, like Olivia Newton-John, Jeff Conaway, and Sid Caesar, are gone, their final chapters marked by illness or long private struggles the public only partly understood. Others, like Stockard Channing, Didi Conn, John Travolta, and Michael Tucci, remain remarkably active, still working, still occasionally reuniting to celebrate the film that made them household names. And several, from Barry Pearl to Kelly Ward to Eddie Deezen, found their truest legacy not in further stardom, but in teaching, directing, and voice work that quietly shaped entertainment for the next generation. Grease may have promised its characters a simple happily ever after, but the real lives behind Rydell High turned out to be far more complicated and far more human than anything captured on screen.